Looking back, I did say I wasn't going to be touching any of the in-betweens, such as the transfer circuit, the transition circuit, excuse me, the idle feed circuits. Well, guess what? There's a lean spike in tipping when you're trying to roll off of idle. So the issue here is, normally the way you would take care of this is you would start with the squirters. So if you have a stock car, usually they do 31 squirters and wimpy cams, but I know this thing needed a bunch of initial shots. So the 50cc upgrade can be had from Summit. That one's about 49 or 48 bucks. It comes with 2 cams and it comes with a 50cc accelerator pump right there. Now, there is such a thing where it will roll off, but it can still roll off lean, causing a slight bog. Now, I'm at an exaggerated situation. Above 35 size squirter, you need a hollow accelerator pump squirter screw, or the high flow one. So luckily this one came with both of them already. When you still have a bog and you got something as exaggerated as a 40 and just a dual plane, there's still a possibility that there may be a timing issue. There's still the possibility that maybe the other circuits are not fully tuned. So what I'm going to try now is I'm going to try to enlarge the idle feed restrictor channels, because that is what feeds the transition circuit from idle into primary jet. So, or maybe I'm missing that. It's early in the morning, I don't know, but I'm going to try that. I have a couple of jets I can use, and that should be good. So 50 cc's, brown cam. You get a yellow cam too, but the brown one seems to be working better for me. And the squirter, I just drilled out the stock 31s that I had. It's expensive to keep buying squirters. So again, after that, if you're still having issues, you can go higher, maybe try it some more, but the other circuits are also important to try out. Again, it may be a timing issue. In your case, it may be a timing issue. In this case, it may be a transition issue. So, nice little trick. This thing seems to, a paint can seems to hold all the fuel. Just take it out. And you just pour it back in the gas tank, because gasoline is expensive. Even though you use the paint can top trick, you're still gonna have a shit ton of fuel everywhere, unfortunately. You just grab a metering block, which of course it's gonna be stuck, because why not? Alright. The back one always falls the hell off. Like I said, these new ones come with a little slot right there. Take a screwdriver and it just pops off. Obviously you want to use something softer than a pocket screwdriver, because you are going to scratch the crap out of the bottom. But not if you pry gently. I just got gasoline all over my hand. Right here is called a pin gauge. Very important for when it comes to tuning orifices in the carburetor. Here's my metering block. Make sure the gasket isn't stuck to it like mine was. And here's the micrometer. Just because it says it's in this spot doesn't mean it's correct. But the orifices here are 28. 29 doesn't go in it at all. So the way you confirm is just grab your 28 or grab whatever size your orifice may be. Confirm it with this guy and then go from there. Now, again, I like to make charts, so I made a little chart. Rule of thumb, every .002 equals half a point. Research done by the Night Wrencher, of course. .002, right now I'm at .028. That equals 16 AFR. And our goal is between 13 and 13.8 on transition. So that's what we want to see. So what I would need is maybe 0.038, but we don't even know if this is actually the issue here. I already have 235s. Now I'm going to try that out, and if we see any change or anywhere near 14.25 or around there, then we're on the right track. And that would still be a little bit too lean. I would probably go, if it is 0.035 and I am close to 14.25, I'll probably make the rest of the jump to 0.038. But just to try it out, because I already have this drilled out to 0.035, and I don't want to drill these out. I like to keep some stock ones. You can buy these. I don't know what size they are, but they sell them on eBay. I think it's a 10-pack. I don't know if they're 632s or 832s, but they do sell blanks. Again, they're getting expensive now. $15 for 10 of them. That's why I don't throw out the ones that you already drilled. Just keep them and put them in your pin gauge like that. That way they're easy to just go and grab. These might be, what are these? These are air bleeds. Those are air bleeds, and I think those are either 1032s or 832s. But whatever. These I don't know what size these are. But anyways, I'm gonna put 0.035 in it, and then I'm gonna try to warm it up. Keep in mind, whenever you mess with these, the idle needs to be readjusted with a vacuum gauge, and that's always a pain in the ass. So I'm gonna swap them out. They don't gotta go on too tight. Pocket screwdriver in and out, and just till it stops turning, and that's it. This is why it's very important to understand what circuit you're actually trying to tune. So the issue I was having here obviously was off idle. While letting the clutch out, it would go as far as lean as 16 AFR. Now that usually points to transition, and the problem here is that when I took out the idle feed restrictors, they were at 0.029, and that was equaling 16 AFR. Well, that's too lean, and that caused a noticeable bog. But what I ended up doing was I already had 0.035, so I put those in there, and I was at 14.3. The bog went away. Obviously, you want to aim between 13 and 13.5 or 13.8. But 14.3 was good enough. I was driving it, clutch let out, it didn't want to die. It accelerated smooth off of it. It definitely needed a little bit more, but we were on the right track. Unfortunately, on the highway, it had an effect there too, because at 70 miles an hour, 2000 RPM, I am cruising on transition, and I am maintaining speed on the transfer slot or the transition circuit. So what this means was I was getting 12.8 at cruise, and that's horrible. Now this, even though it was my mistake, this information is still relevant because you may not be cruising on the transition circuit. You might actually be cruising on the actual primary jets, and at that point this stuff won't affect you. But it affected me because of where I'm cruising and maintaining speed. Different combinations will require different throttle inputs and so on and so forth. But the information here is still relevant. So pretending that didn't happen, at 0.035 it was actually around 14.3, 14.5. I would probably want to go a little bit bigger. Maybe another 2 would be half a point, so maybe 0.037's this. The whole rule of thumb when it comes to 0.002 to open you up half a point, that's just a ballpark estimate. So maybe I would try 0.037, and that would get me to where I would want to be. But for now, I'm thinking that because I am on transition, I'm thinking I would go from 0.029 to 0.027. That way I can achieve the 14.5 cruising. And I would probably have to, I don't know too much about the low speed air bleed circuits or the air bleed circuits in general. The low speeds feed the idle, so I would assume that I would have to start tuning there in order for me to be able to have that extra fueling down low. So that's more research that I have to complete. But this information is still relevant in case you're having issues with that. Now, keep in mind that I don't think I can exaggerate the accelerator pump or the acceleration circuit anymore because I have a 50cc accelerator pump. I have a brown cam. I have a 40 size squirter. At some point, it would be too much. So at this point, like I said, there's other things that could come into play, which could be bad timing. Check your timing. It's easier to do it on a distributor, I would imagine, because you just twist the distributor or whatever it is that you do. With this, I would have to make a simple edit, I would have to reflash the PCM, and just to add or remove 1 or 2 degrees would take a while, but still necessary. So check and make sure that your idle the ignition is correct for where you're taking off. You're trying to take off if you're having these issues. But if everything checks out, if your floats are correct, if your fuel pressure is correct, if your primary throttle isn't open too far, if your idle is set correctly with a vacuum gauge and it's nice and stable, of course, the bigger the cam, the more radical the needle's gonna jump. But if you can get it pretty close to stable, or to where it's mostly staying on just 1 inch of mercury, which whether it be 15 or 18 or whatever number it may be, if you can get that stable enough, then you can be on your way. These, I do remember tuning the idle feed restrictor channels because on my Turbo 350, I was also on the transition circuit, because I remember leaning that out to 0.27 and I was getting around 15.5 on the highway at 3000 RPM. I would not recommend it because that's really lean, could cause overheating issues, etc., etc. But but when you do lean it out that much to get better gas mileage, regardless of what RPM, when it comes down to that situation, you'll definitely get some sort of lean bog, because at that point, again, it goes from idle, transition, and then primaries. Right there, it needs to bridge good together. Because if you have it running really lean that way, it's gonna be very noticeable. And when I did have it like that, it just didn't like being floored slowly because it would lean and bog down really bad. So again, there's trade-offs, but all this can be tuned. There's definitely other circuits that compound and they can help you. So right now I'm gonna probably go to a 0.027. That way I can have better gas mileage on the highway cruising, and then from there I'll go maybe do some research on the air bleeds, and if I can change those, then I'll make a video of that. So this is just me trying to figure these circuits out. Hopefully this helps though. It should.